Hello and welcome to the Alpha Software Demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software. And today we're going to be taking a look again at the Alpha Test Drive application, which is available for you to download on GitHub. Before we begin, I'd just like to do just a quick audio-visual check to make sure that you could see my screen. You should see my mouse moving around and you should be able to hear my voice. Audio is good. Wonderful. Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, here we go. So today we're going to be taking a look at profile pictures. Profile pictures are a great way to add polish to your applications. They're also a good way to convey information quickly, especially if you have some sort of messaging type of functionality in your application. Being able to quickly identify a user on your system just by their profile picture can speed up the process. Profile pictures have become a modern standard in applications. Let's take a look at one of them. Here's a system called HubSpot, which is a system that we use here at Alpha to run our website and do our mailings and things. And one of the options, as you'll see for my profile, is the ability to insert a profile image. I never really thought it would help me very much in HubSpot, so I've never really included mine here, to be honest with you. But in other things like, say, Skype or Slack, or actually quite a few other applications, it does make sense to have a profile picture. So we're going to add that today into our Alpha Test Drive app. Let's take a look here at the app. I've got actually a quick slide here, a screenshot. Let me click on that. And you'll see if you played with this app before, we do have a screen called your user details. And in that user details, I've added now an image control and the ability to update that image. And the image can appear up here on this bar. Now this big ugly refresh button is just here temporarily, but we're going to be using this today as a learning exercise because there's lots of different little components that go together to make the profile picture functionality work. And I think you will find that interesting. So let's get started. I'm going to dive right into Alpha Anywhere. So here we are in the Alpha Anywhere test drive, and I'm going to actually go into Alpha Anywhere application. And I'm going to open up the user info screen. Not only am I going to open that up, I'm also going to open up the older user info screen. Let's open that one here. And we'll go into its controls. So this is how the user information screen used to appear. I'm just going to go into working preview. You'll see it's just a series of fields with the save and submit buttons at the bottom, provided it will render. Hang on a second, cancel. Let's go into working preview again. Oops, no little issue. Anyway, but as you can see, it was just first name, last name, company, department. User ID was actually hidden and a couple of buttons. The layout hasn't changed too much in this new version. So we're going to open up the user info here. It's just that I've added in two new controls. One is called the profile picture, which is an image control. And the other is a hyperlink, which I'm really just using as a button. It's meant to fire off the update image programming behind the scenes. And then I've placed these in containers so that I can space them across on the screen. Hopefully working preview will work for me here. If it doesn't, I'm just going to shut down Alpha real quick and restart. As I'm working with a nightly build. Let me close that. Sorry about that. Hang on a second. All right, we'll launch this. So when you are dealing with images, one of the first questions you're going to ask yourself is, where will these images be stored? And you've got several options for that. When you're dealing with profile pictures, which are rather small, one option might be to simply place them in a database themselves. Option two would be just to keep them on the server as part of the file system. And option three would be to use something like an S3 storage bucket. The S3 option makes a lot of sense if you are working on Alpha Cloud, or if you've got multiple servers that are behind a load balancer. That's because when you are in those circumstances, you can never be guaranteed that the file that you've uploaded will actually be on the server that the user gets to. In other words, If I chose to upload an image, sure, it would go into the file system of that server, but it doesn't go into the file system of all of the servers, which is why you would use S3. I'm going to jump into that in a second, though. So let's go ahead, though, and open up the user info UX control here. And hopefully working preview is going to preview for me. There we go. I don't know what was going on with that, but anyway, here it is. So you'll see I've got this thing here called update image, and this is actually better to do in live preview because you can actually upload images. In fact, it's better to do in the live app. So let me just give you an example of that. If I clicked update image, let me refresh my session though. Log in. We're going to go back to that settings page. And we'll go into my settings, my details. All right, so when I click update image, it's going to update it's going to open up a dialog box for me. You'll notice I have it styled with the correct fonts and stuff. We'll get into that later. And then I can choose the image that I'd like to upload. If I've got a couple of images here, let's choose this one called Doggo. We'll upload that one. And now you'll see that the picture has changed. And I'm going to go ahead and now submit that. And that Doggo has been now saved into the database. So where did it go exactly? Well, let's take a look. If you recall in the previous sessions, the Alpha Test Drive application is driven by a SQLite database. I'm going to open up that database right here and refresh the view so you could take a look and see what's in it. Here we go. Oh, cool. Someone signed up for an account. Good for you. I like that initiative. All right, so here we go right here, user1@alpha.com. And you'll see it says profile pics doggo.jpg. And so that was the image that I just uploaded. So what's being stored in the database isn't the image itself, it's just a pointer to the image. The actual image is being stored on the hard drive. Okay, so how do we set that up? Well, let's go take a look. We're going to go into Alpha Anywhere, and we're going to take a look at the profile pic button. Actually, we're not. We're going to take a look at this update image hyperlink. I'm going to double click on that. And you'll see I just have an action associated with that. I'm going to show you what that action is right here. It's under JavaScript actions. Actions, JavaScript actions. Here we go. And it's called update image. I'm going to go ahead and click edit on that. And it just has one command in it, and that's image upload. This is one of the ones that's built into Alpha already. So this is really a very cool feature, and that's what I'm going to show you primarily today. Let's take a look at that feature. This is what it looks like here in the list, image upload. You'll see there are a couple other image options though. If you were capturing images that were going to be used in the detail view of a list, you wouldn't use that one. You'd use this one below, image capture for listed detail view. But today we're just going to be starting with a really simple one called image upload. So I'm going to double click on the image upload and show you how it is defined. The first part of the image upload, first of all, asks for where the file name, where it should be stored in the database. And for that, you just simply click and select your field. I only had that one field, so that made it easy. I'm going to hit cancel. And then I've got a couple other questions here. The one question here is, first of all, what is the application type that I'm running? Now, desktop seems like an antiquated term. In fact, even though I've selected desktop can be used for both web apps, mobile apps, and so on. But what it implies is that there's going to be an active connection to the database. That makes sense for a profile picture. But there might be some image instances in which you want to upload or capture a bunch of images where you don't necessarily have an internet connection. So you would probably then, in that case, choose the mobile, and you'd go with some other options there. But for now, we're just going to choose the application type desktop because we know we've got a connection back to the server. All right, the next thing I want to show you is the image field. Okay, so the image field is the one I showed you, and I showed you that it's a character field. It's not really storing an image, just a pointer to it. The next part, though, is the upload target. This one is interesting because you can either set server, which is what I've done, or you can set it to Amazon S3, and in which case you've actually got two. You can also use Wasabi, by the way, which is a competitor to Amazon. There are two options here. One directly uploads the image right to S3. The other one first goes through the Alpha server and then uploads to S3. This one is useful if you want to create a thumbnail or something and use that thumbnail and save it someplace before you go. This one is useful because the direct one is useful because you don't have to add any additional traffic to your Alpha server. It's just between the client or the browser and Amazon S3's storage service. Okay. The next question, where are we going to save it? So this is going to be the subdirectory. Well, you don't have to even put it in a subdirectory. You can put it in the root, but of your A5 web root. So you will have created that already back here in the web projects control panel by creating a new folder. And you'll see it when you're actually taking a look at the A5 web root. And this is where your server is, where your application is served from. So you'll see I've got one called Profile Pics. I've created this folder and I've actually put some pictures in it. Okay. So I've selected that. File exists actions overwrite. Yeah, because, it may be that multiple people are uploading an image that just simply say, my pic or profile pic. You want this to be automatically renamed by the server to something unique. So that's where you want that. Next thing we're going to do is stored file name transformation expression. I'm sorry, that's not what I wanted. What I meant to say is we wanted rename as our option type. I'll leave it as overwrite for now. It's fine. Stored file name transformation type. Okay, so when the file is uploaded, I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This answers the question of how would I like to have that stored in the database. If I did nothing, let me hit Control X and clear this out. If I did nothing, then it would upload it here to see images, whatever. And that's not exactly it. I don't want to have the drive letter installed. Instead, I just want to save the relative path to that image. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is type in the name of the directory, profile pics / and then the field name that's automatically created. And I do that using the insert sample expression, and I'm going to choose short file name. Oops, looks like I replaced everything. So let me just retype that. Profile pics / there we go. So that's what the transform file name would look like down here, profile pics bike. And that's perfect. When the page is being served, it'll know to look down into that subdirectory and pull up that file. Cancel out of that. And let's see, is there anything else I want to show you on that? Yeah, just one more thing. Right here at the bottom, once the upload is complete, there are some events. You can actually have it fire off code when it's done. One thing that I'm thinking about doing, and probably will do after we get off this call, is put in an after upload event, which automatically saves the database record when I'm done. That way, when I'm in the interface and I update the image, like I've done here, click here, and we'll just change it back to me, upload, you won't have to remember to hit that submit button in order to update that. Okay, so hopefully I've explained how you can, okay, so that's explained sort of how you get the image, how you save it into the database, how it gets saved onto the hard drive, and how you can reference it in the database later. Let's go take a look though at the image itself. So the image itself, let's just pop over to Alpha Anywhere. Cancel, no, okay. The image itself is called Profile Pic, and it's a control that I selected here on the left. There are two types of images. The first type of image, which you'll find under, is the one you'll find under Other Controls. Actually, that's the second one. And then there's one under Data Controls. You're going to want the Data Control one, because what you want to be able to do is just set a field value and have it automatically insert the picture. If you chose static, you could do that, but you'd have to write some JavaScript, which would have to, first of all, find the picture that you wanted to update, and that would have to update the source thing. So I just find it easier to use a field. So that's what I've used here. Regardless of whether, though, you choose a data-based image or a static-based image, you'll still have this option here in properties where you can actually style that image. So we're going to go here to picture, and I'm going to scroll down and take a look here under image properties. You'll find this thing called advanced image display options. This is a really handy dialog box. There's nothing that you couldn't do in here that you couldn't just do with CSS on your own, but it is kind of nice to have something that's sort of pre-built and meant to do that. So when you choose advanced image styling, you get a couple of controls. You can decide what the whether you want a circle, a square, or a rectangle in which to display the image. I'm going to choose circle because that's typical for profile pictures. You can choose the size, in this case 100, because I want it to be fairly large when you're choosing it. Although when we use it in the menu itself, we're going to drop it down to about 44 pixels, which is about normal for that. I've decided not to include a border in that. Image alignment, I've set to left. You might actually want to put it to center so that the image is centered within that circle. Might make sense. I'll leave it for left here for now. And then that's pretty much it. That's all it took to define that. Now, like I said, this functionality doesn't work in working preview. You can't, I think you can choose the image and stuff like that, but you can't save anything back to the database. You can do that in live preview, or you could just do that using by doing a test on the server. So that covers that in terms of collecting the image and displaying it here. But the next question is, how do I display that image then up on my menu bar? So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And we're going to take a look at the master UX. The master UX is basically the page that loads, or it's used in the page that loads to display the menu and to have that menu get to each of the other components. One of the components, for example, is called user info, which is the one we're just editing. Up at the top, though, of this, and we'll go into working preview and take a look. Up at the top, you're going to see a 3 controls that we placed up here in the panel header. There's this button, which opens up our menu. There's this text, which just describes what the thing is. And then in this other container over here, I've placed a refresh button, which should not work in working preview. Let me click it. Okay, yeah, it fails. Good. Okay. Let me show you what that refresh button does. And at some point, we're going to make this even smarter, but let me just show you how that works. If I go into the live version here, now that my image has been saved, I can click this refresh button, and it should load my image from the database and put it up here in the right. So how do we do that? How do we update an image like that? I'm going to go ahead and show you that right now. We're going to go back to design. And we're going to go take a look at what that refresh button does. It calls an action that's an AJAX callback called get profile picture. And so this is a little bit of XBasic, and I'm going to show you how it works. It's pretty easy. So this is the get profile pic function. And we start by setting a pointer variable equal to this function get extended user info. This is a really cool function. What it does is, for whatever user you specify, in this case, I'm choosing the current user, it'll give you back a pointer value, which shows you, which contains a lot of information, including the avatar URL. I think I can actually access this in working in the interactive window, which I think you might find interesting. So if I went into the interactive window, oops, let's go back here and let's grab this. Okay, projects, we're going to go to the interactive window. There we go. Because I'm not logged in, it won't know who the current user is. That doesn't make any sense, but I'm just going to go ahead and hard code it to one that I just happen to know is in my database, user1@alpha.com. And you'll see what I got back. In fact, let's set this as a pointer variable, p equals. Okay, so we're going to take a look at p. and you'll see it's got three properties, error text, which is blank, JSON, and secret mode. So let's do a parse on that. D equals JSON parse P dot JSON. Let's take a look what's in there. And now you'll see it has all these properties. It's got the company that I work for. Basically anything that is in the user information table, I can get back returned. And one of those things is called the avatar URL. That's actually the first one right here. So if you take a look at this code, and you'll notice that it's returned it using that transform that we had done just a moment ago. So if we take a look back here in the code, that's all we've done is we've basically just asked for that back. We've parsed it out. And then the last thing we're going to do is send back the JavaScript that is going to be rendered by our AJAX callback. And we're going to use dialog object set value. That's one of our built-in functions. Profile is the name of the picture field. And then last but not least is the actual data where it can find that profile. And that's all there is to it, to setting it. So I'm going to make a couple other updates, but we'll do that after our webinar is over. One of the updates I think that would make sense is to have it, well, obviously is not to have this refresh button. So as soon as the user logs in, you should be able to see their image up there. So we're going to have it as one of the initialized events, call that little JavaScript, that AJAX callback that I just showed you to populate that. But the other thing we're going to want to do is after we update the image, we're going to want it to do two things. One is to submit it to the database. And then after that, we're going to want to call that update function again and have it update in there. And I will add that functionality into the alpha test drive, and a new version will be placed up on GitHub for you guys to take a look at. So that pretty much covers, let me just take a look through my notes. Yeah, that looks like it covers what I wanted to cover today in terms of working with profile pictures. I was wondering if there are any questions. Okay, so question one, what's the Alpha Anywhere test drive application? That's a great question. Let me go ahead over to github.com/Alpha Anywhere Alpha Test Drive. I'm going to grab that URL. We're going to just put this here into the chat window. Okay. So this is the Alpha Anywhere Test Drive application. There are videos about it on our YouTube channel. And it's basically a pre-built set of functionality that lets you do common things that you want in pretty much any application that you build. So for example, it's got a login. So I'm going to go ahead and log out. It has login built in with two-factor authentication, which you can, which is set up for you at alpha.com. I've shut off two-user authentication for this user, so I don't have to do it each time. Whoops. Helps if you type in the right password. At least you know it works. All right. Once you've logged in, I've given a dashboard. That's just sort of a very simple thing with some static data. Just as an example, this you would typically replace with whatever you would like to be the home of your application. We have My Details, the one I was just showing you, and that's the one that you can change your profile picture as well as your name, company name, and so on. Then we have two-factor authentication, which at some point I think I'm going to combine into the other one. But that lets you turn on and off two-factor authentication. If you do turn it on, you have an option between using the Google Authenticator app, SMS, in other words, a text message, or email to get your code. I'm going to shut that right off. You have the ability to change your password. I won't go into that, a little bit boring. We've got user administration. That's pretty cool. And I see that someone had just signed up in that database. Oh, Joe just did. So I'm going to go ahead and make Joe a user. Because I know and like Joe, so we're going to trust him. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now Joe is officially a user. You could go to town. Don't abuse your privileges there, Joe. Okay. So this is, I only have two groups here, admin and users. Admin lets you access this here and make changes to usernames, passwords, things like that. If you click on a particular thing, you can add new users here. You can delete them. You can edit them. If I click edit, you'll see there's a little box here. Oops, looks like I got a little bug. I'll figure out what that deal is in a minute. Okay. That usually works. I'll take a look and see what's going on with that. And then another thing that's cool is user activity. So if I take a look at user activity, and I just really need to set an end date. Start date is optional, and I hit refresh. I'm going to take a look at all the people who have logged in and have done something. There's Joe and there's me, and what they have done. Right now, it just tells you what Ajax callbacks were done, but you can make this much more specific to let them know, oh, they changed their password, they went to this page, they looked at dashboard. Anything that you want to do. This might be useful for doing compliance auditing and things like that. And then we also built a to-do list. We actually did a whole session just on how we put this together. And this is the to-do list that lets you edit things. I did a session actually showing you how to do in-place editing with this one as well. Cancel. And it's got color codes. It's automatically sets date fields. And it's got something in here to let you export it as an Excel file. And that pretty much covers it for this. So again, you can grab that here at Alpha. If you're watching this as a video and you don't have access to our chat window, it's github.com/alpha anywhere, all one word and lowercase. And then it's /alpha test drive. And it's uppercase for alpha, test, and drive, AT&D. You can go ahead and download that. And one of the webinars actually shows you how to install it, but it works like any other project. It's the full workspace ready for you to play with. Let's see. Oh, another question. SMS functionality, does that require a third-party service? I have a bit of good news for you there. It can use a third-party service, but if you don't, we actually include that. We include secretly, the key is included, which allows you to use SMS, so you don't have to sign up for a third-party service. This should work right out of the box. How do I get the browser to stop two-factor on the second login? It's driving users crazy. Oh, on multiple logins. That is a good question. So in other words, you want to do it just on the first time they log in, and then not do it in the future, or maybe have it wait. Well, either way, let me take a look at that, because there are a few options that we can come up with. And I'm just going to make a note so that we address that in a future webinar. Again, though, just as a reminder, if you do have questions, you don't have to wait for webinars. You can send an email to guides, GUIDES, @alphasoftware.com. So that pretty much covers what I wanted to cover today. Doesn't look like there are any other questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Hope to see you at our next Wednesday's Alpha Software Demo and Q&A webcast. Until then, take care and stay well. Bye-bye.